Well, good afternoon, everybody. Good evening to some of you, depending on where you are across this fine country. Those of you in California, it's a sunny afternoon to you. And of course, those of you on the East Coast, well, I suppose by now you're getting home and getting settled in for the evening. And of course, everybody's in the middle. I want to welcome you guys to our Bollinger Bands Essentials preview webinar this evening, as we're going to be talking about Bollinger Bands and an upcoming program that we've got here at Tradesmart. So I'm very much looking forward to this. This is a program I've been wanting to put together for quite some time, and finally we've gotten here, and it's live and ready to roll. So I'm very much looking forward to sharing this with you guys this afternoon, and moving into next week as we get into the live teaching of this Bollinger Band program. So tonight's webinar is about using Bollinger Bands to find explosive trade ideas. This is, of course, a preview for our larger Bollinger Band Essentials training that we're going to be teaching live starting next week. And so here's our overview of what we're going to be getting into. Tonight, we're going to do a quick introduction into Bollinger Bands, quick look at the relative nature of bands, and then we'll look at the 3 explosive trade setups, and we'll talk about how you can learn more. Before I get there, I'm really curious. I just want to kind of get an idea for where you guys all come from. I know I got some of you that are, you've been with Tradesmart for a long time. You're just kind of checking out what's new. And I got some of you, this is your first time, so I want to welcome those of you. This is your first webinar maybe, or maybe you've kind of been, snooping around for a while, but you've never been super involved with Tradesmart. And so I just wanted to kind of really quickly get an idea of where you are in this process. I'll give you maybe another, 4 to 5 seconds to fill this out. It's not really hard, just this is your first Tradesmart experience, or you're an old hat wanting to see what the new stuff is all about. So I'll share this with you guys just so you have an idea. It's about a 3-4 split here. 75% of you, you've been around for a while. About 25% of you are brand new. So those of you who are brand new, a super, super welcome to you. We're looking forward to getting to know you more and to welcoming you into the Tradesmart family as well. And for those of you who are old hat, you've been around a while, well, welcome back. I'm thrilled that we can have you back here tonight. Wow, that looks like that messed up my my slideshow a minute here. Let me stop sharing this a second, see if this will clean it up. Let's try this. Did that? Nope. Hold on. Let's see. I hate it when my slideshow doesn't look right. Let's try this here. Does this clean anything up? There we go. That's looking better. All right. So let's get an introduction into our Bollinger Bands. And as we move through our class together, I'll be happy to do some question and answer at the end of the class. And of course, I'll tell you all about the new Bollinger Band training program that we've got here at Tradesmart. So let's answer the first question first. What are Bollinger Bands? And I think probably the best person to define that is John Bollinger himself. So here's the way he describes it. He says, Bollinger Bands are bands that are drawn in and around the price structure on the chart, and their purpose is to provide a relative definition of high and low prices. Now, that may seem a little bit ambiguous to you, especially if you're not familiar with them that much, but it's a very good description exactly what they are. They're simply bands that are drawn around the price action of the stock so that you can get an idea relatively of the highs and the lows. Let's take a look over here at a picture of some Bollinger Bands. This is First Solar, and you're going to notice that as we're moving up into the upper band, the band has expanded and it kind of starts to form around the highs of the stock. And then as you get into a trend, and as the stock starts to move, the bands expand and they move along with the lower range of the stock. Now, that may not make a lot of sense to you yet in terms of why we would do that, but this particular picture that you see is a really, in the 1980s, whenever he developed it, this was a breakthrough concept in band trading. And so let's talk about why bands are so powerful and kind of help you understand. The reason Bollinger Bands are so unique is because they show where the stock is on a relative basis. What do I mean by relative? Well, if you're used to looking at stock price movement, let's say your support and resistance, and let's say you've drawn your lines, your support and resistance lines, that is an absolute basis. You're saying absolutely this is the high level of where the stock should be trading, or absolutely this is the low level. You have the same situation if, let's say, you're drawing support and resistance based on Fibonacci lines. It's an absolute nature. Well, what the Bollinger Bands do is they give us a relative perspective. They're showing us this picture on a relative basis of where the stock is trading and where it has been trading. And the great reason for this, or the great benefit of this, is it moves with the stock. Sometimes stocks just simply are not quite absolute. And so that's why the Bollinger Bands really add a lot of extra insight. They give us some interesting insights into stock trends, and they provide some very cool visual trade setups that become very easy to identify. We're going to look at some of those a little bit later here today. And one of the interesting things about Bollinger Bands, and really what the nature of this overall training is the reality that if you wanted to, you could build an entire trading system just on the Bollinger Bands. So that's the nature of the bands. That's one of the reasons they're so powerful, and that's one of the reasons I'm excited to bring this program to you guys and to share it with you. So let's talk about that relative nature. It's such an important component. It's really the distinguishing factor of what makes Bollinger Bands unique. Let's talk about that, and hopefully you can kind of understand this concept a little bit better. Here's the overall concept. Bollinger Bands is a variation of band trading, and band trading in and of itself is not a new concept. The concept of band trading is to encompass most of the price action. And in theory, whenever the price pushes beyond the envelope or the band, it represents an extreme. Now, back in the day, back in the 1960s and 70s and into the early 80s, the way that this band system was used was with a system of bands that we call percent bands. And I'm going to put those up on the screen now, and you're going to see, wow, that looks very similar to your Bollinger Band, but it's very different. And one of the distinctions here that's going to be easy to see is the fact that these bands are very absolute. You see this movement here? That spacing is the same consistency throughout. Why does that happen? Here's why it happens. Because this middle band, the band that's running through the middle here, is simply a moving average. And then we plot these simply as a percentage above and a percentage below the middle line. And so the nature of the percent band was great in theory. The nature of the percent band was one that said, well, if the trend on average is doing this, then we can plot above and below it, and we can kind of get an estimated range. But in practice, what happened is we got into series where, like over here on the left side, we're not getting anywhere close to the upper bands, and you get over here in the middle, and we're pushing outside the bands, and they just kind of, they didn't really work that well. They were great in theory. They just didn't work that well in reality. And so what John Bollinger did in the 1980s is he started working with this, and he discovered that the key to distinguishing where these bands need to be is in the volatility. The component that percent bands could not bring to the table is the nature that volatility is inevitable. Volatility is something that we have to deal with in the marketplace. And so what John Bollinger discovered is that the volatility was the missing component in these percent bands. The concept was right. The theory was right. But we needed to have a way where we could allow the bands to expand, either up or contract down, regardless of what the volatility was looking like. And that led to this concept of a relative system rather than an absolute system. So let's take a look over here, back at the same picture, and notice over on the left side, as I've already pointed out, this is pretty loose. We've got some bands that are floating around the middle line here, but we're not getting to the top, we're not getting to the bottom. You've got some areas where it's working fairly well, it's working okay up here, but then you kind of get into the sideways move, it's working well down here, but not quite so much at the top, and you say, this thing is close, but not quite. So what's the solution? The solution was to build a band trading system around a standard deviation. Now, we're not going to get into all the standard deviation stuff. If you're a mathematician, then you understand what that terminology means. But what you need to know is that the standard deviation allows for volatility, and that is the key component here. In the end, what we created, or what Bollinger created, is a band system that encompasses approximately 90% of the price action of the stock at any given time, about 90% of that. And that's what you really want if you're going to be tracking with a band system. So take a look over here. This is a picture of the Bollinger Bands now. You notice how similar it is to the percent bands, but you have these moments where the volatility is very low and the bands squeeze down really tight. And then you have these moments where the volatility is really high and the bands expand to allow for that. And if you look through here, you realize, wow, most of the time, about 90% of this price action is contained within these bands. And that creates a good trading system, something you can start working with, something that puts a good framework around whatever it is that you're trading. And so the result is we've got a band system that moves relative to the stock as opposed to an absolute trading system such as what the percent bands were doing. Now, the additional result, this is kind of the secondary consequence of the Bollinger Bands. Not only do we have a system that moves relative to the stock, but it also gives us some really interesting pictures that present trade setups. And so those pictures, the way the bands form around the stock, that's one of the most valuable components of the Bollinger Bands because it indicates some future price moves, oftentimes which are going to be very explosive. And that's really what I want to get to here tonight. It's not so much that I want to explain how the bands work. I wanted to just talk a little bit about that. But I want to show you there's 3 explosive trade setups that happen that we see with the Bollinger Bands. And the reason we want to identify these is because as a trader, if you're a trend trader, you're looking to see the movement out of those low volatility movements or the quick correction. So the way that a lot of traders deal with it, a lot of traders will go out and they'll try to find the patterns and they draw their lines around the patterns and then they trade on the breakout of the pattern. And that's a great way to trade. It's one of the ways that we teach people to trade here at Tradesmart as well. That is one way that you can trade for an explosive trade setup. Another way you can do it is you can look for the trend, and as the trends start to form, you follow maybe a moving average system, and you just track the trend. That's another way that you can take advantage of a large move in a stock. Another way you can do it is you go counterintuitive. Whenever a stock gets to an extreme, it's extremely overbought or it's extremely oversold, you take the counter trend trade. These are all various ways that people trade the market. And what's interesting about the Bollinger system is every one of those trades that I just mentioned, every one of those have a different picture inside the Bollinger Bands. And when you learn to recognize it, you realize that in a very quick snapshot, just looking at the bands really quickly, you can get a pretty good idea of what's coming up for that trade. So let's learn about these 3 different plays that can give you a quick insight into a quick move in the trade. By far the most popular Bollinger trade setup is what we call the squeeze play. This is not a secret play. A lot of people know about it. But with the Bollinger squeeze, what's going to happen is during periods of low volatility. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, it's periods like this right here where the stock is not doing very much. And, I'm using the word stock because that's what most of you are trading. But if you're trading Forex, this works for you with Forex. If you're trading futures, this will work for you just the same. If you're trading stock options or options on another instrument, this will work for you. The idea is that the instrument you're trading stops moving. It's not going very far, and we have a period of low volatility. And when you get into that period, the bands are going to squeeze together. Why? Because the deviation is starting to shrink down. It's contracting. It's very relative. And now you remember that contraction can't last forever. It can only last for a little bit of time. And what's going to happen the moment that volatility breaks loose? Well, we're going to have an explosive move, and typically it's going to be a new trend that gets established, exactly like the one you see here on the screen. So let's take a look over here. Notice on First Solar, look at the far right side of the screen here, and notice how the volatility has gotten really stuck here. The stock is just going nowhere, and the Bollinger Bands have contracted in towards each other. You see that? Anytime you see the Bollinger Bands contract like this, it is a sign that something is about to come. It is a sign that something is on its way. It's about to explode in some way. Now, you don't know if it's going up and you don't know if it's going down. You just know that something is about to shake loose, and so you want to get set. So this picture that you see is a setup. It is not the trigger. It doesn't say get into the trade now. It doesn't say go buy the stock. It's simply saying we are about to have an explosive move. Be prepared. We're going one way or the other. Well, what happened in the case of First Solar here? Well, sure enough, we did have that explosive move. It only took a day or two. And then once we broke into this new bearish move, we break down below the bands and boom, we're off and running. This was about a $20 move. And this happened in, about 2 or 3 weeks here. That's a pretty explosive move. Most of you would be really happy to make $20 a share, in 2 or 3 weeks, wouldn't you? I think most of you would. I may be wrong. Some of you may not. But for most of you, that's going to be a pretty good move. And that's the kind of moves that you typically see with a Bollinger Squeeze setup. So this is one of the types of explosive moves that we see with the Bollinger Bands. Now, the second type of explosive move that we see is what we call a trend trade or walking the band. This is your typical trend trade. You can also see this picture with a moving average trade, but the difference is the relative nature of the band. So here's what happens. When we get into a trend, the stock will kind of walk between the upper and the middle band. Or if it's in a bearish trend, it'll be between the lower and the middle band, such as the one that you see over here on the right side of the screen. And it's going to keep doing that as the trend continues to progress. As I've already mentioned, this is very similar to your typical moving average trade. But as it's moving away from the average, you see how it's pushing into that band, and the band just keeps expanding and expanding and expanding. Every time you see that, it is a sign of strength until it stops expanding. So this becomes an exit signal, which we'll talk about here in just a minute. But as long as it's pushing into the band, this is actually a signal of strength in terms of strength of the trend. In this case, it's a bearish trade, so some people call that weakness, but it's a strength of increasing volatility. And as that volatility increases, the move is moving, and this is a larger and larger money-making opportunity. Let's take a look here at the euro. For those of you who are currency traders, notice how this trade set up here on the euro. The first thing that happened, we had a really tight squeeze here back in December. That started to break. It gave us one more cycle, and then look, as we started to push into the band, here we go. We're walking the band. Now, this is one distinction of the trend trade, the walking the band trend trade, that's different than a squeeze. With the squeeze, you expect an explosive move. With the trend trade, oftentimes there's no squeeze that precedes it. You see how we didn't really have a squeeze that preceded it, but rather we were kind of channeling a little bit, and then we just started pushing into the lower band, and it starts walking along the band. Well, we did that for several weeks here, and by the time we got to the bottom in January, this move had moved from 122 down to 112. Well, for those of you who know currency, that's a pretty sizable move, isn't it? It's about 1,000 pips. That's a good size move. And again, it didn't take that long. It only took about a month to make that kind of a move. This is on a daily chart. This is what I'm talking about with the Bollinger trend trade. The Bollinger trend trade is a very valuable picture to recognize because it's another way of overlaying something on your chart to give you a perspective of where that trend is and how it's behaving. And then one of the big keys to the trend trade is not just the trend trade itself. Yes, it's valuable to recognize that we're pushing into the band, and it's valuable to recognize that move, but what happens when you start getting reversal candles and the trade starts pulling away from the band? Well, that brings us to our next trade. That's your reversal trade and your reversal play. The reversal is the third type of a picture that we see with the Bollinger Bands. And what the bands are doing here, think about it this way. Think about it as a framework for the price action of the stock. How many of you have been through our class, Foundations of Stocks and Options? Have any of you guys been through that class? If you've been through our Foundations of Stocks and Options class, then you know that we teach you, oops, I did the wrong thing here. Sorry about that. Let me try to draw some lines on my screen, and I pushed the wrong button. If you've been through our foundations class, then you know that we teach you to draw highs and lows for your trade. And as you draw those highs and lows, you're going to draw them from support levels to resistance levels. This is kind of a channeling stock that I have drawn here. But we also will teach you to draw the internal lines that will look something like this. And a lot of times what you'll see is you'll see the stock doing things like this. You guys are probably familiar with that concept. If you're not familiar with that concept, it's something that, is relatively well known. But the idea here is that we're taking a stock and we're identifying where the buying and the selling pressure is building up. Across the top, we've got selling pressure. We call that resistance. Across the bottom, we've got buying pressure. We call this support. Okay, this is a very absolute system of identifying where the buying and selling pressure is going to be showing up. And oftentimes it works really, really well. And sometimes if you've tracked a system like this enough, sometimes you'll find that, it moves all around the line and not quite exactly at the line. And that can be frustrating for you. Well, overall, the reason we draw support and resistance lines like this, the reason we do that is for this magical word, framework. That is the magical word. When you have a framework that you can look at the trade in, it gives you a perspective of where the stock should be trading, where it should not be trading, what the likely moves are going to be coming up. So it gives you some framework within which you can work. Guess what? Let's get rid of all that. Let's get rid of all that and looky here. The Bollinger Bands on their own. The Bollinger Bands provide a framework for the price action of the stock. It's one of the great features of the bands. Another thing you're going to learn is you're going to learn that there's little M patterns and W patterns that you may already be familiar with, but they're a little more difficult to recognize maybe out there on their own, but inside the bands, they become very obvious. And so with the reversals, what you start to see is you start to see this framework of where the stock is pulling away from that upper band, representing some selling pressure, and then you start to see the W's or the M patterns setting up, and it typically, more often than not, will lead to a reversal. Forgive me for getting out of my slideshow so many times here tonight. I'm obviously pushing the wrong key commands. I'm not sure what I did to get my fingers all twisted up here, but anyway, let's move on here. Let's look at this Disney trade, and I'll show you how this is setting up as a reversal. So notice first how the play shapes up. We had our squeeze, or a relatively speaking, a low period of volatility. It pushes outside. Now, this was not a huge move. It was about a $4 move. But watch what happens as it starts to move sideways here. You see that M pattern that's starting to shape? There's your M. We've hit the same resistance level twice, and it's starting to break down to the downside. Now, let's watch where this trade moves. We get into the squeeze, and boom, there's your reversal. That's a pretty explosive move. It's about $8 in just a few weeks to the downside. That's 10% of the stock. Now, if you own the stock, that's certainly not the kind of move that you want to have on your trade. You do not want a 10% move against you. And so if you're in an option trade, for example, this is a great chance to go buy some puts. If you're a stock owner, you see a picture like this, you maybe start selling some covered calls against it. You know, there's a lot of different ways you can use the data, but the key here is that the Bollinger Bands are providing a framework that help to foreshadow and to forecast part of the direction of what's likely to happen with this individual trade. All right, now what you've seen here is you've just seen three of the ways that we look at the Bollinger Bands. These are the three most prominent ways. These are kind of the explosive pictures. What we're going to be doing as we get into the Bollinger Bands Essentials class is we're going to be digging into each of these setups in more detail. If you've been through our Foundations of Stocks and Options program, then you're already familiar with these three basic plays because we talk about them in the Foundations class. But never before have I had the opportunity to go as in-depth as I've done in this program. It's a 4-class series. And so if you're wanting to learn more about Bollinger Bands, if you look at this and you say, yeah, that's a good way I could trade, well, I'm excited to share with you that we've got our Bollinger Bands Essentials training. I want to tell you a story about Trent. Trent is the guy that does a lot of video stuff for us here at Tradesmart. And so as I was recording this program, he was shooting the videos. And as I would teach him stuff, he would be putting it into practice on his cell phone. And what you don't know about Trent is a bass player, and he travels with a country artist here in Nashville on the weekends. And so one of his frustrations with trading is he trades through this app on his phone that he can do pretty much anything he wants except draw support and resistance lines. And when he started working the Bollinger Bands, he told me just the other day, he's like, man, I'm loving the Bollinger Bands. I forget what it was. I think he was like 4 out of the last 5 trades he's placed have been profitable trades. And the key here is that he found a way that he could get the relative highs and lows without having to draw his support and resistance. And of course, he could do it all on his phone. And so he's trading from the road while he travels with his artist every weekend. And he's loving it. And the Bollinger Bands, in his words, have changed his life. In fact, he's recording a video just to share some of the excitement that he's got with the bands. But here's what you're going to learn here in this program. I'm very excited about it. You're going to learn a little bit about the history of the Bollinger Bands, specifically the construction of the bands. We're going to expand upon these 3 explosive main plays that you started learning about tonight. And then I'm also going to show you the false break. This is a very important component that I'm going to be teaching you about. You know, what a lot of people think is if you just see a Bollinger squeeze, that it's a given trade and you go with it as soon as it breaks out. But the reality is Only a few of them break that way. Sometimes you have a false breakout. And there's a way that you play that, and there's a way that you can react to that. And I'm going to be talking about that as we get here into the Bollinger Essentials training here. We're going to learn some specific indicators that we work with when we're just doing a Bollinger System. Now, the way that I've taught Bollingers as part of our Foundations of Stocks and Options, I have paired it up as an additional indicator itself. But what you're going to learn here in this training is I'm going to show you a couple of indicators, specifically the Bollinger Bandwidth Indicator and the Percent B. These are indicators that create the entire Bollinger Band suite, and that in and of itself is kind of its own trading system. And then I'm going to show you another way that we set up some indicators to kind of help add to that so that you've got a full trading system. Of course, you're going to learn the exit signals and everything you need to really learn how to start trading here with Bollinger Bands. Again, I'm very excited about the program. It is available right now on demand. You can access that if you're already a member here at Tradesmart. But for those of you who are not members, obviously you need to get signed up as a member. Or for those of you who maybe been waiting around, I had one of our students, Aaron. I don't know if Aaron's here tonight. Aaron, let me see if Aaron's here. Aaron asked me a couple weeks ago. He knew that I was going to be releasing this class pretty soon. He wanted to know if I was going to be teaching it live. And I said, I hadn't thought about that because most of our classes we do is on-demand classes now. It's really favorable to do the on-demand for y'all's schedules and stuff. But I said, you know what? I think I'll do it. I'll do one-time teaching. So that's what I'm going to do next week, starting on June 2nd, starting next Tuesday and Thursday for 2 weeks. This is a one-time opportunity, literally, because we just have too many classes for me to teach everything all the time anymore. And so this is a one-time opportunity. If you want to take Bollinger Bands live, the whole program, I'm going to teach it starting next Tuesday. And the timing on that is 8 o'clock. I left this off the screen, but it's 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. So even those of you on the West Coast will have a chance to kind of get home and be set up so that you can start taking the class. Again, that's starting next Tuesday. And you can get access to that right now. You can start watching the on-demand, or, of course, you can get signed up to take the live class as well. Now, here's the good news. This is included for all of you as part of your Tradesmart All Access membership. So those of you who are here and you've already got your Tradesmart membership, fantastic. This is included for you. And you don't have to do anything other than show up. The registration links are in your membership area. If you have trouble getting registered, you can always reach out to Michael or Ray, and they'll be happy to help you get yourself registered. Now, some of you, however, are not members yet, and that's going to be your key to getting access to this. So for those of you who are new, or maybe you've been around Tradesmart for a while, but you've not maybe taken advantage of the new membership yet, let me tell you about that really fast. What we started in January is we've started lumping all of our training program together into one membership that you can have access to, and you can access all of our training. And you can do it on your own time. Everything's available on demand. You can start watching the classes whenever you want to. Everything's recorded in nice little succinct videos that are available on our website. You can watch them anytime you want to. You can go at your own pace. And then whenever you decide that you've got all the training you need, you're welcome to cancel the membership anytime you want to. There's no long-term commitment here. And so that's what I'm talking about. For those of you who are not familiar, that's what I'm talking about with the Tradesmart All Access membership. It is access to everything that we've got. Now, you can still go buy one program at a time if you want to. If you want to go buy any one of our programs and own it for life, you can do that. If you want to buy Foundations, it's $895. You can do that. Bollinger Bands, if you want to do a one-time purchase, it's $895. Tick by Tick is $895. Trading Plans, this was a $399 program. And so you can still go buy these programs individually, but what most of our students have found is it's a much better value to just go get access to all of it, watch what you want, and then of course whenever you decide it's you've learned everything you need to learn, then you can just cancel the membership whenever that time comes. So let me tell you about the membership levels. We got 3 levels. We got a silver, gold, and platinum. The platinum level membership is unlimited access to everything that Tradesmart has to offer at this time. It's unlimited access to all of our videos. Of course, you get all the notebooks and everything you need. We add new classes every month in some way, shape, or form. You have the live trading labs. We do these on Monday, Tuesday and Thursday every week. These are live webinars that we do where you can ask questions of the instructors and come in and get some help throughout the week. And as a Platinum member, you also have access to Power Trader every Sunday night and the new Mastery Series every month. So this is the ultimate membership. Starting around June or July, we're going to be raising this price up to $199 a month. Currently, we're still in this kind of first of the year promotion, and the current price on that is $119 monthly. And again, you can always upgrade or downgrade anytime that you choose to do that. Now, for some of you, having all those classes would be a little overkill. And for some of you, you want to start as more of a gold member. Well, Bollinger Bands is still included with a gold membership. You still have unlimited access to all the on-demand videos. You have the course notebooks. You have the trading labs. So for a lot of you, this is what you want access to. You do not have Power Trader or the Mastery Series that comes out every month. So that's a substantial chunk of new monthly training that you do not have access to as a gold member. That you would have access to as a Platinum member. That price currently is $89 a month. Again, part of our introductory pricing that will again be going up later this year. And then finally, if you just really want the bare bones, you can get involved for just the silver level, which is a $39 a monthly commitment. That's access to all of the on-demand videos, but it's on-demand only. There are no live classes. So that means the Bollinger Bands next week, you will not be able to attend that live. You could still watch the recordings, but you could not come to the live classes as a silver member. So all of these will get you access to Bollinger Bands. It's just a question of how do you want to experience it. Do you want to do it as a live class, or do you want to do it as a recorded class? Do you want access to everything that Tradesmart's got? Do you just want access to just the recordings of some of the core training programs? It's just a decision that you need to make in terms of what level you want to go into. But as part of this webinar, what I'm thinking we could do is I was thinking we could maybe help your decision process along. And so what I want to do, this is a current promotion that we're doing just as part of the Bollinger Band promotion and part of the new all access membership promotion. I want you guys to experience all of it because, while the on-demand is really cool, the trading labs offer a really unique value that you can't get just on demand. The on demand is great. If that's all you can come in at, then fantastic. You can still get access to the core training for $39 a month. But what really takes your trading to the next level is to have access to the teachers, to be able to come in every week and to get access to me and to Josh and Alfonso and start learning from people who, are a little bit closer to the actual situation. And so the trading labs are very, very valuable. And I really want all of you to do that particular level. If you can't do anything else, then, at least try gold for a month. That would be my minimum that I would like to encourage you guys to try because it really gets you, a lot of access to everything. But what I'd like to do for you guys, since you're here today, is I would like to encourage you to try Platinum. But I realize that some of you don't want to, maybe commit $119 a month. Maybe $119 is a little bit overkill for you guys right now. So what I'd like to do is give you a free upgrade. Take this $89 from gold and let's just move it over to the Platinum column. And if you will commit to just trying it, all I want you to do is just try the membership for $89 a month. We will upgrade you to Platinum so you can experience everything that Tradesmart has for $89 a month, and that price does not go up. You've locked that price in. As long as you maintain your membership, that price will stay the same. You don't have to worry about the price going up one day from $89 to $119 or from $119 to $199. You don't have to worry about any of that. It locks everything in. So this is our current promotion. We're going to be running this for just a few hours here. And you guys can have access to literally every training that Tradesmart has to offer, all of the Bollinger Band training, and the live training that starts on Tuesday, which, of course, is what you guys are here to learn about. For those of you who are brand new, I see a bunch of you, 25% of you, this is your first Tradesmart experience. You probably want to go through our Foundations of Stocks and Options. So if that's you, well, you're going to have access to that here with your Platinum membership. It'll give you access to that, as well as all of our other training. Our live trading labs that we do on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday evening. You'll have access to that for the entire month as long as you keep your membership active. Of course, the weekly power traders, where you see trades set up on a weekly basis. We talk about the market every Sunday night before the week gets going. And then our monthly mastery series, taking your trades to an entirely different level. So all of this is included in the Platinum. And what we want to do is we want to give a free upgrade to Platinum whenever you give it a try as a gold member. Now, if you try it for a month and you say, hey, gold, platinum is a little overkill, I just need silver, you can always call in and we can adjust your membership level. You can step it down to silver level if that's what you need to do. It's not a big deal at all. We want you to find the right training program that really works for you. So how many of you think that this would be a really great time to get started with Bollinger Bands? I think most of you, if you're here at this point, are thinking, yeah, I'd like to get started, at least try it out. But maybe you're sitting on the fence and you're thinking to yourself, this still feels like it's a little bit of a commitment. So Diane, what if I could maybe remove completely almost all of the risk for you? Would that help you out just a little bit? If I could remove most of the risk, would it be something you'd be willing to join me Tuesday night for the live Bollinger Bands? Would that be a little bit of a help? Here's what we want to do. This is a 24-hour offer. Okay, Diane? The $89 free upgrade to Platinum still applies. You're still going to get the $89, but here's what I want to encourage you to do. Just try it for 30 days for $4.95. If you're not completely thrilled with the amount of value that you get with all of our online library of trading education, and of course the live Bollinger Band teaching that will be Tuesday and Thursday starting this coming Tuesday, and all of the live trading labs that happen Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, and of course the weekly power traders every Wednesday or every Sunday night, and of course our monthly mastery series. If you're not totally thrilled with all of that, you can cancel anytime you want to. It's not a big deal. But I think what you're going to find is there's more great trading information you could really digest in probably the next 18 months. And so I think what you're going to find is, wow, this is an exceptional opportunity to get access to some really top tier trading education. And I want you to just try it. So if you guys would be interested to just give it a shot for the next 30 days, then you can experience everything Tradesmart has to offer, including the live Bollinger Band class. And when the month rolls out, you can either cancel it, or if you choose to stay, we will honor the $89 the $89 gold price with a free upgrade into Platinum. So that's what I've got for you guys this afternoon. But you have to take action. You got to go ahead and get signed up. We're not going to make this available with the upgrade forever. This is a short-term thing here that's going to expire. So it will renew at the discounted rate, but right now, short-term opportunity. Get signed up for $4.95. So that is your special offer. And with that in mind, what I'd like to do now, I'm just kind of skimming through the comments here. What questions could I answer for you guys? What questions could I answer? And let me start here with Aaron's comment. There's Aaron. I knew Aaron was going to be here. Aaron said he viewed the on-demand recordings last week. It was really great stuff, Jeremy. Thank you, Aaron. Aaron, as I mentioned earlier, I'm not sure if you're here for it, but I did decide to teach it live. We're going to be teaching it Tuesday, starting Tuesday, June 2nd. That's coming up this coming Tuesday here. All right, let me show you guys how you get signed up. Just go to tradesmartu.com, and when you get over to tradesmartu.com, it's going to end up on this page right here. It's really, really simple. You type in tradesmartu.com, you land on our website, and you see where it says try it now for $4.95. It's so simple. All you have to do is go to our homepage, click on Learn More, and it will take you down here. If you want to learn more about the memberships, you can watch this video, but the easiest thing to do is click on Start Your Trial. Right there, just start your trial. And when you start the trial, it's going to take you straight to the order form, and it's going to give you your 30-day trial to the Platinum membership, and you're going to be renewed at the discounted rate of $89 instead of $119. All right, so that's how it's going to work. If you run into any problems, please reach out, success@tradesmartu.com. I'll write this up here on the screen for you. success@tradesmartu.com. tradesmart.com. And I do have Michael and Ray both here tonight. They will be happy to start taking any questions and get on the phone with you if they need to, or whatever they need to do to help you guys out. success@tradesmartu.com is an email that you can reach out to very quickly here. Richard says, can you please explain in more detail what Power Trader Live and Mastery Series is all about? I will, Richard. Richard, give me some context first. Richard, are you brand new? Do you have any context of what Tradesmart is about? Or maybe you've been through a foundations of stocks and options, but you've never done the Power Trader, just so I can kind of know where to build from. Okay, so Richard is brand new. Great. Richard, I'm starting from scratch with you, which is wonderful. So here's what we're going to do, Richard. Let me give you a little bit of a tour. Can I give you a tour? I think this is going to help you out a little bit. If you come to our website and you see where it says Course Overview, if you click on this, Richard, and this is for everybody, not just for Richard, but if you click on the Course Overview, you can scroll down and see all of our training programs that we've got. We've got a program here called Foundations of Stocks and Options that is our flagship training, Richard. Richard, we've put thousands of people through this program. We've been teaching it since 2009, and a lot of students here tonight can validate, the success and, what Foundations of Stocks and Options is. It's truly just a well-rounded introduction into trading. We got 3 levels to this program: Foundations Level 1, Level 2, and Level 3. Level 2 and 3 are, I guess they're not on this screen here, but they're a little bit more of the advanced levels here. Okay, so if you wanted to learn more about Foundations, you can click on this, and then you can scroll down through here and learn more about Level 1, Level 2, and Level 3. And then, of course, we've got some, example videos on here as well that you can look at. Well, Richard, that doesn't answer your question about Power Trader, but I'm getting there. What we found at the end of the Foundations program, Richard, is we found a lot of people, they understood the concepts, they understood the content, but they needed to watch it in action a little bit more. And so, Richard, we started our Power Trader Live program, which on our courses page was at the bottom of the page under Live Training. We started Power Trader Live so that we could walk through trade setups on a weekly basis together as a group. And we have a top 10 list. This list is not super special other than they're all optionable and they all have some good volatility and they move a lot. We have a top 10 list of stocks that we work with, Richard, and we look at these same trades every Sunday night so that you guys as new students can get an idea of what we're thinking and how we do our analysis and how we update it on a weekly basis. Literally, the analysis that we do on Sunday nights is usually our actual trade setup for the week. That's usually what we're actually going to be working from for that week. So it's kind of like you're looking over my shoulder or Josh's shoulder as we're getting into the week. So that's what Power Trader is about. Power Trader format is going to start with, looking at the overall market overview. We'll spend about 15 to 30 minutes looking at that. And then we'll get into gold and silver. We'll look at currency. And then we'll get into the individual top 10 trades, Richard. So that's what Power Trader is. Now, to answer the question about mastery, as Tradesmart evolved over the years, we started adding some classes. And we started adding some specialty classes. And one of the programs that we put together was individual, single, one-time classes that we called the Mastery Series. And so if you click on the Mastery Series, you can learn more about those individual classes. And if you scroll down, you will see several classes that we have offered in here. So you'll see the most recent one, the one that Josh taught last night, was unpacking the effective trading loop. In the next, probably by Monday, the next class will be announced. That'll be coming up in June. We always teach these on the last Wednesday of the month. So the last Wednesday of every month, we teach a new mastery class, and it's a specialty class. So again, last night, Josh taught the effective trading loop. It's a psychology class, a 1-hour class on psychology. Alfonso, the month before, taught a class on gaps. The month before that, I taught a class on strangle your options, not your broker. Month before that, Josh taught a class on implied volatility. So you have access to all this right now, all the recordings. But if you want to record, or if you want to watch the live classes, then that's what the Platinum membership gives you access to. So you have both the historical Mastery Series and the live ones that come out on a monthly basis. So it's just more in-depth, single class kind of specialty training. Does that help you out there, Richard? and for the rest of you who may have also been wondering what those classes were. All right, any other questions that I can answer? If so, fire them in here. If not, then I'll just give you guys a giant thank you for showing up and giving us an opportunity to share with you guys. This webinar has been recorded, and we will be emailing it out, so you'll have access to that. It will be posted up on our YouTube channel as well. So you guys have a wonderful night. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Mike will be happy to get on the phone with you. Ray will be happy to get on the phone or email with you, whatever it takes to help you guys understand what you've got access to here at Tradesmart. Of course, once you do get signed up, please don't be that poor person that sits on the side and says, well, how do I do this? Reach out, get whatever help you need. These guys are here to help you learn how to access everything you've got access to. So you guys have been great. Thanks for taking some time to be with us this evening. I look forward to seeing you Tuesday night as I start teaching Bollinger Bands live. I look forward to seeing a lot of you in Power Trader Sunday night, as well as my trading labs on Monday evenings. And I know Josh and Alfonso are looking forward to seeing you on Tuesdays and Thursdays, respectively. So you guys have a wonderful evening. Until we meet again, happy trading to all of you. Again, go back to tradesmartu.com to get signed up, and we'll see you guys next week. Good night.